Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to have some Division 18 ranked online gameplay in the light heavyweight division using one of my favourite hidden gems, which is Corey Anderson coming up against Alexander Gustafsson. And before we get into the actual breakdown of the gameplay and why I think Corey Anderson is a very good hidden gem, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's been subscribing as of lately. We're on 98 subscribers as I'm recording this video, and I'm hoping that maybe by the next couple of weeks we can reach 100, which would be a big landmark. I'm trying to improve the quality of the videos, which is why I've upgraded my microphone, and hopefully we can continue growing this small community into a bigger community. But I'd just like to say a big thank you. If you have any content suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. I like interacting with you guys, so yeah, anything in the comments below, anything you want to see, just let me know and I'm sure I'll get around to recording it. And now coming into this gameplay here, I'm coming up against the Gustafsson, who is, I think a couple of videos ago I used Gustafsson and said how good he is and that he needs to get more love, that a lot of people don't use him enough. And it was nice to come up against him. Obviously it's hard if the opponent's good because Gustafsson is an absolute monster in this weight class. But Corey Anderson, the only downside to Corey Anderson of course is his striking. We all know he's not going to be the best striker. As you can see, I'm throwing the leg kicks there. Combinations are very slow, very stiff. However, one thing is to note, obviously he does have power, but in this weight class everyone's going to have power. There's not going to be a shortage of power. The game plan you're going to want to implement is a very grapple heavy approach, and that just makes sense. Obviously he's a wrestler. You're going to look to chain wrestle, use the cage, really wear your opponent down, and you might not get your opponent out of there in the first or second, but you can really push on, drain their stamina third, fourth and fifth. He's got great ground to pound, and he's got, in my opinion, one of the most crucial submissions, which is the Kimura from side control. If you've watched all my videos in the past using grapplers, you'll know that that's one thing I look for when I want to really dominate an opponent, is they have to have the Kimura from side control, because that submission is not only incredibly powerful, but it's super effective, and it's in a position where you can fake the transition and then go into crucifix, and in crucifix if they've got the Americana, that's even better. But Corey Anderson of course isn't used as regularly just because his stand-up isn't the greatest, and there's also a lot better grapplers in this division. If you want to grapple, you're really going to look to use John Jones or Daniel Cormier, and of course that makes sense. They're both elite grapplers and they're both 5-star fighters, so when you're playing ranked and you care about points, you're of course going to opt to go down that route instead. But if you really want to test yourself and obviously use a slightly worse fighter, I believe Corey Anderson's 4-star, then please pick him. It's very surprising how good he is. I've used him for a couple fights and I was really enjoying using him. A lot of my opponents were struggling, and because his combinations aren't the best and punch speed isn't the best, you're really going to look to get the grappling exchanges early, wear out your opponent, really work their body, because the longer you keep it on the feet, the more likely you are to get knocked out or dropped, and you don't want to fall into that trap of getting comfortable on the feet with someone that isn't the best striker, especially in a matchup where I'm facing Gustafsson, who's got excellent boxing and excellent kickboxing. As you can see, reverse the position here. You're really just going to look to just wear on your opponent and lay on them, throw a couple strikes here and there. He's got good ground and pound, which you can see is why every now and then I'm going to posture up and try let off some vicious ground and pound just to do some head damage to my opponent. But overall that was a very good first round, good feel around, and coming into the second, of course I know that in order to have success in this fight, I'm going to have to build off of those grappling exchanges. I'm going to have to look to control my opponent, but when we are on the feet, can't shy away from throwing punches, but all these punches that I'm going to be throwing is to set up the eventual takedown. Everything I'm throwing is with the intention to end up getting the fight onto the ground. And one thing to note is start round 2, as you can see, if you look at my stamina, it's in an excellent position. And one thing I'm trying to do here is work Gustafsson's leg, and I'm just doing that purely to get my opponent thinking, okay, he's going to throw the leg kick low, and then eventually at some point in the fight I will throw a head kick, because when you're using people that aren't strikers, a lot of the time your opponent doesn't expect you to throw a high kick, and when you do, just because of the division we're in, so much power is going to end up causing a stun or a knockdown, which could then get the fight to the ground, which is extremely beneficial for me. As you can see, my opponent started out quite aggressive. Obviously the round prior was clearly my round, and now my opponent feels that he needs to come out more aggressive and look to really put it on me. My opponent's doing the right things, as you can see, keeping a good distance, and when he comes in he's using Gustafsson's boxing combinations. We throw a good combination here, and again we're going to that leg, and that's all with the intent of just getting my opponent thinking low, and then we're going to go high. As you can see, shoot for the takedown and we get it. The only thing that was a bit annoying is that it's right next to the cage, which is not where I wanted the takedown. I wanted it right in the middle of the octagon, so my opponent can't use the cage to get up. We get into side control fairly easily again. Now just about getting some deniers and control time. I'm starting to pick up on my opponent's habits. As you can see here, the deniers are starting to come through more consistently now. We're doing a lot of damage to my opponent's head here. Opponent gets into the sprawl, and here you've got to be careful because obviously you're against the cage, and if they go up, they'll just push you directly onto the cage. So I'm sort of pre-denying that every time I'm throwing. But my opponent's opted not to move, so we rotate around the back. Good deny here. And when it comes to the grappling exchanges, as you can see, we've been extremely dominant. Anderson's just very easy to use on the ground, and I'm having great success in controlling my opponent here. And that's the thing with Gustafsson, I want to wear out the gas tank. No matter who you come up against, if you're coming up against a John Jones or Daniel Cormier, you can easily wrestle with Corey Anderson. He's just got that ability. He's a slightly lower rated character, of course, but that doesn't mean he can't stand with the top grapplers in this division. And as you can see, the fight's going my way right now. My opponent's not having much luck here. We go for a bit of ground and pound here, and as you can see, I'm being very selective with my strikes because I don't want my opponent to catch it and reverse me, or just blocking the strikes and just drain my stamina. You've just got to be very careful when you're doing the ground and pound. Opponent does a good job here of reversing the position, but when you look at the clock, there's only 24 seconds left. I'm not too worried about my opponent doing anything major here. I'm expecting my opponent to posture up really. I let off some ground and pound. My opponent doesn't, ends up getting into top mount here, but with 2 seconds left he's not going to do much damage. I think there my opponent was just trying to get a bit of control time up, finish the round on top, boost morale. But coming into this third round here, we've laid out all the work. I've picked up all the patterns on the ground, especially when I'm in side control. That's the one thing I always try to do, is which way is my opponent going to go, and then I try and stall those patterns in my mind just so I know, okay, when my opponent's here, he's going to go up, he's going to go left, he's going to go right, just so it's going to make it a little bit easier for me next time I'm on the ground to deny. As you can see, like I said, we were setting up that head kick, we then get the takedown, and that's beautiful because that was set up very well. The whole fight I was throwing that low kick just to eventually land the higher kick, and as you can see there, beautiful land, and then we got the takedown. It worked perfectly, and the takedown's right in the center of the octagon, which is exactly where you want it. And now I'm in a great position here because that ground and pound done an extreme amount of damage as well. Done a terrible job here. My opponent ends up working his way to mount here, full mount, and this is a very dangerous position. As you can see, my opponent pushes up, we do a good job of denying the punches, and then we do a good job of swaying. As you can see, my opponent's gas tank is very low, and if you look at my stamina, even after all the wrestling exchanges we've been through, stamina is in a great position here. And now, my opponent's definitely down 2 rounds, needs to press, needs to be a lot more dominant this round. We go for a takedown again. My opponent does a good job of denying here, and this is where you've got to be careful. So my opponent's starting to deny these takedowns, and I can't afford for this fight to be on the feet for a majority of the round, because where I'm going to have the most success, of course, is with my opponent on the ground. So I ended up working my opponent to the fence, tried to take my opponent's back. I'm not sure what happened there, it just didn't let me get it, and straight back to the leg kicks, as you can see. And I'm just doing that again, so my opponent keeps thinking low, and eventually I'll go higher, ankle pick him there, straight into side control, which is exactly where I want to be. And I know my opponent's stamina's not in the greatest place, so a couple deniers here, we'll go for the Kimura, and the fight should be over, depending on how good my opponent's submission defense is. As you can see here, being extremely patient, and one thing most players do is as soon as you throw the elbow, they try to go to sprawl, hence why I pre-denied the sprawl there, letting off loads of elbows to my opponent's head there. My opponent tries to go the other way, it just isn't working. As you can see, we're really trapping my opponent here now, and it's a matter of time before my opponent's stamina flashes, as it does there. Now we go for the submission, and here, as you can see, it's just a matter of time really before the submission gets locked in. So that's how I'd approach using Corey Anderson. Great stamina, great grappler. As you see, we had a lot of wrestling exchanges, chain wrestling, and we was constantly moving, throwing a lot of strikes. But my stamina coming into the third round was absolutely excellent, same as the second round. So stamina management with Corey Anderson is really easy, as long as you implement a good game plan, which is throw punches just to set up takedowns. Everything's takedown orientated. Throw leg kicks, and that's just to set up a high kick eventually, because like I said, your opponent won't expect it. But predominantly really working these takedowns. Be smart with how you go for the takedowns. You don't want to get clipped with a knee or a teep kick or an uppercut. But extremely dominating performance there using Corey Anderson. If you did like the video, please leave a like and a comment below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.